Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Framed, a September BookTube event all about art. That I've been doing a lot of reading, like so many September events that I'm doing on BookTube. I'm doing a lot more reading than I've been doing dedicated videos about them. I've been letting these events down, and that's bad. That's very bad. I've only been making 10 or 15 videos. That's not good. That's very lazy. But Framed is about art. So you can read a book about art or an artist or an art movement, something like that, or you can show us some art. Go to a museum or an installation or even a building and look at it in from the framework of art. Not what's in this building, but what is it as an artistic statement. Something like that. Often thought to do that. I still have ideas. I still have a little time left for Framed to do that. It's just I very seldom leave the fainting couch. And then the third thing you could do for Framed is the thing that I've done a couple of times now, and I think I want to do it one more time before we wrap up the month, and that is to create art of your own, to do it yourself. I've been drawing some things, and a number of you have been very kind about that. You've liked it. You've found it very enjoyable. We've drawn a couple of rooms, and I was thinking about drawing another room, or maybe drawing a person, but but. But last night I just read a book. I read a book about art. It was a reread. I read this when it first came out, and I loved it then, and I loved it the second time. And it's about some of the most remarkable art that exists. It's by Gregory Curtis, and it's The Cave Painters. And it's about cave painting done by Cro-Magnon man in Spain and France, done by early humans or Cro-Magnons, done by long vanished lineages of hominids. And the more you learn about this subject, the more fascinating it gets. Because we're not talking, in a lot of these cases, we're not talking about someone walking into a 10-foot tall mouth of a cave up to the well-illuminated back of the cave and painting something at eye level. Some of the locations here were incredibly difficult to reach and incredibly dangerous to reach. You maneuver your way down crevices, crawl your way through alleyways, through sudden vaults of roofs, then down another crevice, down another little bolt hole. Suddenly you get to a small opening, and there's artwork on the wall. Not doodles, artwork, shaded painting, colors, shapes, grades of thick black lines to thin black lines. Someone 40,000 years before you were born crawled through those same crevices, found this space, and got to work and painted something. And a number of the paintings are very primitive, but some of them are absolutely beautiful. Just genuine artists who not only aren't known, but probably weren't even human. Genuine artists painted these things, created this artwork. One of the most amazing things, this author tells a story of that artwork. He relates the latest conjectures on who did the artwork and where and when and especially why. It takes a lot of effort to take a little bear grease wick candle and go down a long corridor, go down, spelunk your way to a hidden cavern. That takes a lot of effort. Why would you do that? Curtis examines the theories that were latest at the time that this book came out of why people would do that, who did that. He describes the artwork. He shows a lot of it. He spends a little too much time in this book, as books like this tend to do, relating the fascinating, quirky personal stories of the people, the modern day researchers who are studying this stuff. I have to imagine that I'm not alone in not being all that interested in that, whether it's someone doing the same thing about oceanography or the study of pandas in the wild or something like that. To fill out a book, writers who popularize this stuff will very often go into long, loving details about the coffee that these people had in the morning or the soup that they like when it's a rainy day. And I understand that. Not only is that the coin of the realm because you're being given access by these people, but also it's natural. You spend so much time with these people, you want to write about them. It's just, I think a lot of writers forget that that's not the interesting thing about the book. No one finds that as interesting as these paintings themselves. And the paintings themselves, not only are they fascinating for the who and the why and the what, they're also fascinating because they are as close as we will ever get to photographic evidence of extinct animals. And it is always, I mean, I read this book, I reread it last night, I really like it, it's really good. I wish I could find a hardcover copy of this. Because it would be worth keeping. I get something more out of it when I reread it. I was struck by the wonder of it all, but even more so, I am always struck with just a shiver of awe at the fact that these people who crawled into these spaceways and painted these animals saw them. They saw these animals with their eyes roaming around in the world. Animals that are long gone. They're creatures in storybooks to us. Giant woolly rhinoceri, giant woolly mammoths, giant panthers where there are no panthers and haven't been in forever today, saber-toothed panthers, all kinds of things like that, that we have their bones, we have their fossil remains, and from that you can extrapolate a lot. You can tell from indentations in the bones where the muscles were anchored, and by the size of the indentations you can intuit the size of the muscle group, which helps you to explain the physical dimensions of the animal once you put a hide on the animal. We have sometimes the hides of the animals. But this is different from that. This is artwork by someone who saw these things. They saw them alive. That is just absolutely amazing to me. Whether it's horses or striped camels that we don't have anymore, or the auroch, the enormous common ancestor of all cattle today, but twice as big as a buffalo, or other animal, woolly mammoths and things like that crop up in animated movies. But that the idea that a hominid, whether an early Homo sapiens or a Cro-Magnon or whatever, the idea that a hominid, that a two-legged, a bipedal, big-brained person saw these things and had the skill to make them look real. Some of these cave paintings are primitive, but a lot of them are not. A lot of them look like photos or something you would get from a modern-day nature artist. Amazing. And especially when you consider that they're doing all of this from memory in an uncomfortable, dark, dripping location by candlelight. That element of this story always amazes me. We don't know who those artists are. We never will. They wanted to be known. Sometimes they left their handprints. Probably the most arresting detail of these cave paintings is not the verisimilitude of a lot of the panthers that look like they could walk right off the cave wall and snarl at you. The most arresting detail is those hands. An irrepressible reflex of an artist to sign your work. I was here. Whatever this tapestry that I'm painting is, these animals, maybe I'm propitiating the gods for a good hunt, maybe I'm commemorating a tribe member who was killed by one of these animals. No matter what the purpose of this artwork is, that handprint has no purpose other than I was here. I painted this. Amazing. Just amazing. All over again. Amazing. So I strongly recommend this book. I don't know if it's still in print, but for Framed, I definitely am glad that I revisited it. So that's my Framed entry for today about art. I want to do a couple more books, but we should also draw something again because that's been a lot of fun. So maybe we'll do that tomorrow. I will wrap this up and we'll see what we do tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube.